Hello and welcome to On the Sidelines with Shawn Stepner. I am Channel 2 sports reporter Shawn Stepner. This is our new podcast where I go out and about and meet up with people in the Baltimore sports community, past, present, players, coaches, behind the scenes, and we kind of take a look inside what makes them tick, how they got to where they are, and so on and so forth. Learn a little bit more about these people, not only on the court or on the field or on the ice, but off of the playing surface. And our guest today is head men's basketball coach for Towson University, Pat Skerry. Coach, thanks for taking the time with me today.
It's great to be here.
All right, so I wanted to talk to you because I've been here in Baltimore working for Channel 2 for a little over 2 years, and you're one of the more colorful characters that I've come across. So I want to kind of find out a little bit more about Pat Skerry. First question for you, as we're taping this late in September, what is right now, this time period, what's it like for a college basketball coach in Division I athletics?
Yeah, I mean, it's exciting, crucial. It's probably the most important time. You know, where we've had 2 days of practice. You get 30 days of practice until you play your first game. So it's really about, you know, a lot. It's a cliche word, but like process about it. But it's really about how we get better every day. So you really consume with that. And on top of that, you get guys. You got academics. You got family. You got recruiting. You got everything else. But it's what drives you. You know, one of the things I'm fortunate to have the job that I have, and I'm gassed up every day to go to work and try to figure out how to get better. That's what really drives me. And that's, you know, I think like most, I'm consumed with that. I bounce up very, very early in the morning, and I want to figure out how we got to get better today. And that's like never ending, because you want the perfect game, you want the perfect program, you want to be the perfect coach, perfect player. That'll never happen. I was talking to one of my guys last night, who's, I'm going to use nameless, but he's a good player, and he said, "Coach, I don't think I had a good day yesterday." And I'm like, look at, man, if you take 100 shots, you ain't making 100 of them. So we'd like that, but you can't be a perfect. You know, you just got to keep getting better, and that's what's exciting about this time of year.
You say you're an early morning guy. What time did you wake up today?
5. All
right, so we're taping this at around 10:15. So this is like midday for you, right? I mean, not really, but for me, it's kind of midday. I mean, I am not an early morning person.
The older I get, I feel like I'm falling asleep a lot earlier at night because you're running out of gas. But you know, I like to get up. I've become a Peloton guy. My wife and I purchased a Peloton for a couple of months. For a guy that's had a couple hip replacements over the last 3 years, this is the first time in about 5-6 years I'm able to get to work and sweat. So it's been awesome.
What is a Peloton?
It's a spin class, but you get the bike. You lock your feet in with the special shoes. You got the computer screen on top. You either take classes live on demand, one or the other, and
nice.
I love it. I love it. It's I'm getting after it. I've told myself that I've got to manage my energy level better this year by eating better, working out better, and I've been locked into it more than I have the last few years, and it's just what I'm going to do.
Feel different?
Yeah, I feel great. I feel great. I'm moving better. You know, I said I've had a couple surgeries the last couple of years, and you know, I think I need to do a better job managing energy, and that's why that's why I'm doing it.
Did you feel like you were like gassed toward the end of the season or toward the end of the days? I mean, what made you make that, you know, decision to kind of change that part of your lifestyle?
Yeah, I just felt like, obviously when you have had a couple of hip replacements, no easy injury to get over. So yeah. I realized I wasn't going to be the next John Stockton after that, and just felt like I needed to stay in better shape, stay fresher. Jobs, especially at this level, Division I basketball, don't get easier. And you know, I like challenges. You know, we're approaching this thing like you know, some people think we lost a lot of guys and might not be as good. I don't think that at all. I know what I see, and we're determined to get there through a lot of work. That's how we've built it, and that's what we pride ourselves on.
We'll get to the on-the-court stuff in a sec, this year's team and how you got here, and challenges. You say challenges. There was a kind of big challenge when you got here after that first season. We'll talk about that. But you're from Massachusetts. If you haven't noticed, listening to him talk, he's from the Northeast, Medford, Massachusetts. What's Medford, Massachusetts like? What was it like growing up in Medford?
It was a lot of fun. We call it MEFA, MEFA. It's about 5 miles from downtown Boston. I grew up a hockey player.
You and me both.
Best.
I knew I liked you for some reason.
The best team I ever was on was my Scorch team. I tell the time we were 72, 2-2. I'll never be on a team that good again. And I thought I was a pretty good hockey player. I played with 2 pros, David and Joe Sacco. Pros. They played in the NHL. Yeah. Successful. Joe's used to be an NHL head coach. Assistant
Colorado.
Yep. So
he played for the Capitals locally for a year or two. Had a cup of coffee.
Great players. The Medford's had a lot of pro hockey players. The Kachucks. The Bates family. So it's a big hockey. So I grew up playing hockey, and I remember when I thought I was good. And I remember I got asked to try out for the. It was like a New England Whalers. It was a really big thing, and it was all kids from New England. And I thought I was pretty good. Is when you were allowed to start checking. And I had to go against JoJo Sacco, who was a year older than me. And this resonated with me about there's always someone better than you out there. As they threw the puck into the corner, we both went for it, and he just pancaked me. We went back to the line, and he said, "Hey, I'm sorry about that. I'll let you get the next one." He was such a nice guy. And I said to myself, you might not be that good in hockey like you thought. Maybe there's
you got a low center of gravity probably, though, right?
Well, these guys were good. And I just kind of fell in love with basketball. I think I fell in love with basketball. My parents got divorced. They did a great job with us. They both lived in Medford where we grew up, even after divorce. And I think just through that was my outlet. Just go to park and just play all the time. But I had a funny path. I went to, my first year of high school, I went to Boston College High School, which was a really hard commute, about an hour commute every day, 2 trains and 2 buses to get there. And I thought I was a good basketball player, Shawn, and to say I was the last guy cut from the freshman team. And I thought I got hosed, and so I got cut, and I wasn't going to stay at Boston College High School. I thought I was mistreated, misguided, or whatever. I spent the entire year taking home on the bus, the train, doing my schoolwork, and going up to Medford High School every night of the week. Pickup started at 6 o'clock at night. Men, former college players, high school players, just guys from the street, play every night, 6 to 9. I would get there first, so I could get in the first game and hope we'd won a few games, and I'd stay to the very end. So when guys started filtering out, I could get in the games because these were men, and there were fights, there were languages, there was stuff that went on in the gym that shouldn't have went on. But I got a lot better that year, and I think learned how to compete, and ended up making the varsity team at Malden Catholic as a sophomore and starting. So I'm thankful for that experience that I got cut, whether I thought it was unfair or not, because I've also learned, took that time, I've been cut from more teams, I've passed over for more jobs than anybody, and it's my old man always told me it's not the size of the dog in the fight, it's the size of the fight in the dog, and that's just something that kind of an adage I try to live by. Yeah, and
nothing. You wouldn't appreciate what you had then or have now if you didn't have to go through that, right?
No question.
And that you talk about your father. My father always, kind of told me the old cliche about if you have a job you love, you never work a day in your life. And
Same thing for my old man.
That's what I was trying to achieve from the minute he told me that, because my dad worked in the car business. He sold cars, and he managed auto body shops. He owned auto body shops, and he did it to provide. But I wouldn't go out and say that it was his passion or he loved it, right? So he always told me to follow that, and that's what I did. And it sounds like you did that as well. So
yeah.
You played, you made that team. You go to Tufts, right? How did you go to Tufts? And what kind of player were you? You were a guard, I assume.
Yep, I was a left-handed point guard that worked incredibly hard at shooting that could never make a shot, but I made some late game ones. I went to Tufts. I wanted to go. You know, it's kind of a good senior season. Was recruited by some bunch of Division III schools. Actually, funny story. My assistant Kevin Clark had recruited me when he was the head coach at Clark University. I was going to go to looking at Tufts, some Division II schools, maybe going to prep school. Long story short, my mom worked in a graduate program at Tufts, the Fletcher School of Law and Diplomacy. It's a big-time program. So we were, if admitted, we were able to go tuition free. And I wanted to be a Division II player. And I remember my dad sitting me down and telling me, you can go to any school you want in the country. By the way, you can also pay to go to any school you want in the country. You can, if you get into Tufts, you can go there for free. So I decided I wanted to go to Tufts. Long story short, there was a guy that recruited me, Rod Baker, who's an assistant coach now with Philadelphia 76ers. He recruited me, so I went into him, and I came and said, hey, I'm coming to Tufts. I used to work out there all the time because Tufts is in Medford. I used to sneak in the gym, play all the time. And he said, congratulations, I got to let you know I'm leaving to go to Holy Cross as an assistant. Blah, blah, blah. Guy that gets the job is a guy, Bob Sheldon, that I played for, terrific coach, still there, worked for. He was Coach Clark's assistant at Clark University. When I took it was my only other visit I took, I hated the guy. I hated the visit, I hated the guy. And then when he got the job, I was like, I'm never going to even play here. So, you know, in Division III, you have tryouts, whatever. I go out. We had a senior point guard. I was behind him. The first game of the season, I got in about 2-3 minutes into the game and started the rest of my career there. And yeah. And, you know, I said it just, you know, I wouldn't say I was really recruited. It just, you know, trying to work at it.
Just, yeah, it went like that. Now, when did you know that you were going to be, or you wanted to be, a coach?
That's a great question.
Was it when you couldn't make all those shots that you were practicing?
Yeah, you know what? It's funny. But going into my senior year, I worked harder than ever, and I was a little bit stubborn, competitive, and like 5-6 games in the season, I think I was shooting like 11% from 3, and Coach Sheldon brought me in and said, you can't shoot threes anymore. I said, all right. Next game, the true story, we're playing Babson College. First possession of the game, I came down the court, pulled up, shot a 3, made it, and pointed right over him at the bench.
How'd that go over?
Next dead ball, the horn blew. He took me out. I sat for the longest stretch of my career, about 8 to 10 minutes, and he came down the bench and he said, this can go one of 2 ways. You can keep doing that and do what you did to me after and sit. You can do it my way. So I figured out pretty quickly, I won't play.
Did your teammates know that he had told you not to
probably,
shoot threes?
Probably. They also knew I was, you know, I probably thought in hindsight, and I'm thankful for Coach Sheldon because he gave me my first job. He probably thought what a pain in the rear end this guy was. He thinks he's coaching the team while he's playing. So I used to always work camps, even every summer leagues. I used to do 9-10 weeks of camp in the summer. It's how I got a lot of my jobs. I met. Used to work the Boston College camp, which ended up helping me later on because I worked for Rick Boyages at William & Mary. He was the assistant that ran the BC camp. I used to do ball handling lectures. That's what got me the Northeastern job. I used to work Merrimack's camp. The assistant at the time was Tom Herrion, who I ended up working for at College of Charles. So I used to work camps all summer. And then honestly, when I graduated, I just thought I'd get into coaching. Nothing really broke. I don't think I was really ready to move to, like, all over the free world as a local guy. I'd never been anywhere but Medford. And true story, my mom got me a job at an international educational firm up in Cambridge, Massachusetts called EF. It was in shipping and receiving. I went Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. I was on my way in Friday. My dad used to take us away up to Hampton Beach in the summer, a couple weeks. I was on my way in Friday. I said, I can't do this. I played a lottery ticket. I won like $460, $470. True story.
Really?
I was like those 4 out of 5. I hit on it, you know. So I got all this money. I didn't ever show up for work that day. I drove up to Hampton Beach. I remember seeing my old man. He was like, I thought you would at least lasted a month. And so then I thought I was ready to retire. Then I realized $400 doesn't take you that long.
Yeah. I mean, most people, you know, they say if I get, you know, if I hit the mega millions, I'm gonna quit my job. You're like, if I get $460, peace, I'm out.
That's it. That was pretty much it. Now, there's no cell phones then, so my mom couldn't reach me. She obviously eventually did. She was not very happy because obviously I retired from the educational world, international educational firm world. I didn't have a great career there. And so I now needed a job, so I ended up going back to Tufts. My first year I was an assistant at Tufts. The recruiting budget was $300.
Wow.
That's what he gave me for my salary. My first, it's a true story, was $300 because he already had a full-time GA on that was finishing. So,
well, and then you
so
said, I just won the lottery. I can double that. Here you go. This is how dedicated I am.
It gets better. I volunteered my first year at Tufts. I substitute taught the Medford school system. I got my refereeing license in high school soccer and high school basketball. I got a bartending license, and I just tried to do a little bit of everything, and I loved it, man. It was great. I did that for a year, and then after the year, I was able to get into grad school there. I became a GA there, where I still did a lot of those things, and also worked in the equipment room or in the fitness center, and got my master's in education there. So
wow.
It was a great start. It wasn't a lot of money. I went to Stonehill. Funny story, the two assistants at Stonehill were me and Eddie Cooley, who's the very successful coach at Providence College.
Yeah, Miami of Ohio before that?
Nope, Fairfield.
Fairfield, I'm sorry.
So
the other Mac.
We were both, like, he was a teacher and a part-time assistant. I was a part-time assistant at Stonehill. It was like a 50-minute commute from where I lived. So I got my real estate license, and I tried to sell real estate. Not very well. I still remember, like, I had an open house, and a guy asked me, and I don't know how to fix anything. I'm like the worst.
Yeah,
some guys say that.
I can fix a couple things, but I'm definitely not a handyman.
I'm an embarrassment. I have the best wife going. I'm an embarrassment. The guy asked me, he says, what kind of heat do you have? Gas or electric? And I paused. I said, I think it's both. And I'll never remember, obviously I didn't sell the house, but I knew I wasn't long for the real estate world. Yeah.
You started playing lottery tickets again. So let's get after it here with your coaching career. You like you said, Tufts and Stonehill. Your first head coaching job, Curry College, again in the Boston area. So you're staying in the Northeast. What was that like?
Awesome.
Youngest head coach in the nation.
I was young. I was 26. I was the youngest head coach in the country. I'll be forever grateful. I had an awesome AD, Pam Samuelson. She gave me a shot. My wife worked in admissions at Curry, Kristen. That's where I met her. So, very passionate president there. Ken Quigley did a lot of great things for that college. I loved it. I loved it. 2 years there. And, we started camps. I got to teach a couple classes. And like I said, I loved it. Made a lot of mistakes, but grew from it. And but I wanted to be a Division I assistant. And, I had got the opportunity to, in the fall after my second year, it was in September, so obviously the timing wasn't good, to go to Northeastern University, and we were going to get, I think we had just gotten engaged, or we're on our way, and I remember telling my wife, like, here's the good news, I'm going to Division I. This is back when Northeast was in the America East. So what's the bad news? Bad news is I'm taking about a $30,000 pay cut. I thought like a 60% pay cut. So this is a tough racket, and a lot of times I know that guys get in, and that's a concern. And look, finance is always a concern, but it's unfortunately sometimes you got to move upward, you got to do it. So, but Curry was awesome, and like I said, I was a head coach at a young age, and then had to spend quite a few years, I call them the rat race, to get another opportunity.
Yeah, when you take a $30,000 pay cut and you're not married yet, and the great woman stays with you, that then it's love. Right, and then
yeah, I've moved them a lot. That's why we're lucky and hope to be here a long time.
Yeah, so you go from Curry, like you said, Northeastern, then William and Mary, then College of Charleston, then you go to Rhode Island and work under Jim Barron, who I covered when I was working in Buffalo when he was coaching his last job at Canisius before he retired. Yep. Great guy, intense.
One of the best.
I made him laugh once on camera, and then I was good forever. I said to myself, if I can make Jim Barron laugh on camera, I think I can make it in this business. You go to Providence, and then Pittsburgh. So these are some good programs. Are there any? Well, first of all, what was that journey like for you? And during that journey, who were some of the players that people listening or watching would know that you coached?
Sure. I think I was fortunate to work for a lot of really good head coaches. You know, every job has different challenges. But, you know, brought up Coach Barron. That was a big break for me going to Rhode Island. He's won the Coach of the Year in Atlantic 10 the most times in Atlantic 10 history. You know, Ricky Boyages, he's the head of the Big Ten now for men's basketball. He was our coach at William & Mary. Tommy Herrian, big break. He had a great record at College of Charleston 4 years, 80 and 38. And obviously Coach Dixon's the winningest coach in the history of Big East Conference games. And then I worked for Keno Davis right after he was named National Coach of the Year at Drake when he got the Providence job. So every coach was different. I think I learned a lot from all of them. You know, we had, you know, it's funny, a couple of the guys, we were a 1 seed at Pittsburgh in the NCAA tournament, and not a ton of NBA guys, though. Like Lamar Patterson played for the Hawks. Brad Wanamaker was our best player, just signed with the Celtics this year after a great career over in being like the Euro Cup MVP. Marshawn Brooks was with the Kings, was a terrific player for us at Providence, terrific talent for us at Providence. Vincent Councils, the all-time assist leader in the history of the Big East, was a guy that I recruited that I thought was a really under-the-radar guy. And we had a lot of good players at Rhode Island. We spent my last year there 5 weeks in the top 25. So, you know, more obviously a lot of high-level European guys, but yeah, 3 or 4 guys that got to play in the NBA.
So, from Pittsburgh, you come here in 2011. What jumped out at you taking the Towson job, and where you said, "Now's my time, my chance to develop my own Division I program"?
Yeah, I mean, I wanted to be a Division I head coach, and you know, I went to Pittsburgh. I had a really good situation at Providence. The athletic director there, Bob Driscoll, had done some things that really take care of me, and my wife was excited about it. And then the Pittsburgh opportunity literally happened like a couple days later, and they were rolling at the time. And I can say now my wife did not want to go to Pittsburgh, and I said, we got to go. And I thought we'd be there 3-4 years. Bought a house. We still hadn't sold a house in Rhode Island because the market was bad. We bought one in Pittsburgh. And obviously we had a great year. We were the 1 seed in 130 games.
It's a pretty good year.
Had that disastrous lot. We actually probably were good enough we probably should have won the whole thing because Connecticut won the whole thing that year. And they beat us in the, this is sour grapes. They beat us in the Big East tournament on the Kemba step back at the buzzer. We were the 1 seed.
That was the Kemba Walker year.
Yeah, we were the 1 seed. We won the Big East regular season championship in the best year of the history of the Big East. 11 teams made the NCAA tournament.
Yeah.
We also beat Connecticut during the regular season by 27. And long story short, we lost on the terrible. Butler played Connecticut in the national championship game. Butler upset us in the second round of the NCAA tournament we had a free throw foul 90 feet from the basket with like a second left and lost by a point. So it was a hard game to watch. And like I said, Coach Dixon did such an unbelievable job.
To see UConn win the whole thing.
They played Butler in the national title game.
That must have been just like...
It's tough. It's tough.
Yeah.
And like I said, he's in my opinion, a Hall of Fame coach. And
Coach Dixon.
Yeah, it'd just be a matter of time before he gets one. But so I'm at that Pitt. I thought I'd stay there a while. And then, honestly, because of being on Coach Dixon's staff and at Pittsburgh, a handful of calls and opportunities came up in the spring. And we had an AD here at the time, Mike Waddell, and the president, even though I knew he was leaving, was Bob Corrett, who's now the chancellor of the system. And it just, you know, everyone told me, don't take the Towson job. We had 17 straight losing seasons here, which at the time was the 3rd longest streak in the country. Only Army and New Hampshire had sub-500 seasons longer than that.
And there was some trouble with the grades.
So
correct?
we didn't. That happened once we got here. There was no such thing as APR then. When I took the job, honestly, I wouldn't have taken it if I knew about it.
And can you explain a little bit about?
Sure. APR is called academic performance. What used to happen when schools didn't keep guys eligible at programs or graduate them, you would inevitably lose a scholarship. So I take the Towson job, and I'm jacked up about it. And I think I got all the answers. I'm ready to go. And obviously, we're the worst team in the country my first year.
Right.
But we got better. Those kids worked their tails off.
Yeah.
They really did.
And we'll get to that.
So I go through my first year, And going now into the second year, the NCAA comes out. So we knew our APR score was low when I got the job. I knew that. We had, through our compliance department here, which does a great job, we had we self-imposed a penalty where instead of when our APR scores were going to be like really, really bad, we'd say we'd dock ourselves a scholarship, like one a year for the first 3 years. And they were like, great, that's normally how they penalize you. Going into my second year, they come out with this thing called APR, where if you're below a certain score, you're banned from the postseason. So we're like, we know we're below the score. It's just when UConn was the poster child for it, unfortunately. So
you're just waiting for the hammer to
So
drop.
we talked to the NCAA and talked about, well, what about the plan we already had in place? They're like, yeah, that's out. So our institution here, Towson, great job. We hired attorneys. We tried to appeal it. And they said, yeah, that's all great, but yeah, no. Now, meanwhile, not one player was here from that, not one coach, not one administrator. So my second year, I'll probably be, I don't know if I'll ever be more proud of a team. We go from 1 win to 18 wins, set an NCAA record, biggest single season turnaround, history of college basketball. We lost the league title by a game, the regular season title by a game. And then we're banned from playing not only in the CA tournament, but any other postseason tournament. We had won 7 out of 8 down the stretch. James Madison, to their credit, won the conference tournament. They beat us by 4 at their place. We beat them by 30 here. So, those guys.
You'll never know.
We'll never know. But it was, look at my second and third year here, we had, this APR issue. We were only able to practice 5 days out of the week. Used to be when you could practice 6 and used to get 20 hours a week. We had to go down to 16 hours a week because of these implications.
They wanted players studying.
Yeah. So I get the rule. The idea should be to graduate kids and care about their eligibility. We've done that. The way it's implemented in some of the schools that have been victimized by it is totally unfair. The hardest thing I've had to do in sports was go into my guys' locker room and tell them they couldn't play in the postseason for something that they weren't here for or didn't do. And I was disappointed in the CAA. We had a different commissioner at the time because the conference banned us from the postseason tournament. They didn't have to. That was their choice. They did it because, obviously, it's about money. If we won it, then we wouldn't have had a representative to go to the NCAA tournament.
They wouldn't have just picked the other finalists?
They never did it that way. So, as I remember telling the commissioner, how come I got to tell my guys they can't play in the postseason? Why don't you come up here and tell them they can't go to the postseason?
Yeah,
I'll lock you in the room and you tell them.
Right.
So
that whole issue was under the administration and the coaching staff prior to you.
Look, when those things happen, it's not just the coach; it's a collective effort. I think the one thing that's unfair in our industry is the second something doesn't go well, it's always the coach. Very rarely is it because the out of bounds play doesn't work that programs aren't successful. It's a commitment. And that's academic support, strength, and everything.
Yeah. Okay. So you're dealing with that.
I wish that upon no one. If I knew I was going to have to deal with all that, Shawn, I would have stayed at Pittsburgh because in all likelihood, you win one game, so you're the worst team in the country. Then you get hit with a postseason ban. Yeah. You should be dead and buried.
Right.
If it wasn't for a guy named Jarrell Benneman, I probably would be.
Who's that?
He was the guy that we took my first year. He averaged 1 point a game at Georgetown. He sat out for us and became Player of the Year in the league the next 2 years, second and third year. It's the only time it's ever happened. Played a couple games for the Jazz. He just worked, and he's actually coming back next week because he's over in China. He's going to come back for something, and I owe that guy a lot.
A lottery ticket at least. So, all right, let's rewind.
Yeah.
We're talking about this first year at Towson. You took the job, you're fired up, you think you have all the answers. You only had enough answers for one win. You went 1-31, correct?
Yeah.
What is that like? I mean, what is?
Yeah, let me tell you, sports is humbling. I went from like winning 30 games to winning 1 game to setting an NCAA record. So what I have learned is it's literally process. It's day by day. How do you get better? I mean, I've seen all ends of it.
Well, I mean, why so much losing? I mean, it couldn't have been just. I mean, it couldn't have been just execution. Was it talent? Was it? I mean, what was it?
We just weren't very good. I mean, first of all, the year before we had lost our last 19 games. We went 0-18 in the league, and then lost in league term the year before I got here. So we weren't very good. We only had one guy back from the year before. By the time everything shook out with the coaching change, only one guy back. So I remember someone tell me, do you feel like the cabinet is empty? I said, is the cabinet empty? We're building a new cabinet. This is just so new.
So you knew it was going to be. It was going to be.
I don't think
not
you ever
great.
Know. I don't think you ever know how.
But you didn't know it would be that bad.
No, I inherited a very challenging schedule. My AD that hired me, Mike Waddell, had done a great job here, and I'll be forever thankful. But I always kid him. He gave me a tough schedule. Before we hit conference play that year, we played Kansas, Michigan, Belmont, LaSalle, UMass, Virginia, Oregon State. Yeah.
You basically played an NCAA tournament.
Clippers, Lakers.
Right.
So we obviously, like I said, we just weren't
ready.
Yeah, we just weren't very good. We finished last in the country in 3-point shooting, field goal shooting. We led the country in turnovers. I think we still led the league in rebound. You should
have learned from that coach back in Tufts that told you not to shoot 3-pointers. You should have told your whole team, all right, no more threes.
I'll tell you what I learned. I think one of the best coaches since I've been in this league was Bruiser Flynn at Drexel. Did a great job there for a long time. So he had the best team in the league that year, and we played them like the second conference game, and I believe the final score was 62 to like 27. So not pretty. And then we played them with like a week to go in the regular season. Now, granted, they probably weren't as locked in, as motivated, but they ended up 16-2 that year in the league. We played them, like I said, second to last game, and they beat us by like 4 or 5. And yeah, like what we learned, and I think which helped us is it's hard to lose that many games in a row. I got the handshake mastered.
How many did you lose in a row?
21 before we beat North Carolina Wilmington.
So what did you learn that Drexel?
Well, we did the same. Everyone said, "How did you keep the guys' spirits up and keep them happy?" I said, we did the same practice that we do now. We didn't say, "Come on, Johnny, let's be good." Kumbaya. I mean, we just do what we do, and some guys got through it and ended up being really good players for us. Other guys didn't. That was just like, once again, it's. You want to win. That's what we're paid to do. But I think the most important thing is, can you get better? That's, I think, a really true measure. Do
you, at any point, midway through the year, after the season, take a look at yourself and doubt yourself?
I think it moved so fast that, I know some of my close confidants were like, "You all right?" And we were recruiting. I had a really good staff. Kevin Clark was still here. I had a good staff. Luke Murray was with me. He's now at Louisville. Kenny Johnson was with me. He had went from here to Indiana. Dwayne Simpkins was my ops. He's now at George Mason. Mike Sweats was my video. He's now the ops at Southern Cal. You know what I mean? So I just think we just tried to attack this thing and, just turn the whole thing over. The only time I was ever worried about taking the job and like that "what have you done" moment. We're going into our second year. We brought in new guys. We had Benjamin and a kid Burwell from South Florida, was a good player, sitting out, a couple guys back. We thought we were going to be good as a staff. We weren't bragging about it. We thought we were going to be good, and we ended up being good. But the first game of the year, we're playing at College of Charleston. They're not even in our league yet, and I'm down there for a guarantee game. They're buying us. And I'm thinking, well, this is going to be perfect. We go in, and at the half, we were down, I think, 28 points. And I remember being like, holy smokes, what the hell just happened?
So there was never any point where you kind of looked internally and was like, man, maybe I'm not cut out for this. You always knew.
I think sometimes I do that. I'll ask myself that now, last year, anytime. I'm the better coaches I've worked for are self-critical. I'm very self-critical. Why do we do that? Why do we do this better? That's why I get up every day. How do you get better? So, I think with leadership, I believe in what we're doing, and because of the amount of work we put in. But I question stuff internally all the time. all the time.
Yeah, I'm a big believer. If you can't look at yourself and try and make yourself better in that regard, realizing that there is always a chance to get better, then you're never going to succeed to the amount to the level that you can. You're not going to achieve what your ceiling is. And
I make the most mistakes at Towson basketball because I make the most decisions. I tell our guys that all the time.
Right.
So,
That's the choice you make. All right, so enough of that first year. Like you mentioned a few minutes ago, your second season, you go from 131 to 18-13, the biggest single season improvement in NCAA basketball history. How proud are you of that season? Do you ever think you'll get a better feeling, or knowing that there was those restrictions, you couldn't play in the postseason? Do you ever think you'll match the level of pride that you had in that year in those guys?
I mean, I hope to equal it.
Yeah.
I don't know if Kevin Matt. I think we had some other. I was proud of a couple other teams, probably about the same level. But the other, like, you look back. First, we didn't get the credit that those players didn't get the credit they deserve for what they accomplished. I mean, that should have been a bigger story. We were banned from the postseason. We would have won more than 18. We would have won a couple in the league tournament. If we didn't play in the NCAA tournament, we would have played in CIT and won a couple more there too. So those kids didn't get enough credit. Burwell, Benham, Damas, Dixon, Guthrie, those guys, like, T.J. Parker, those guys, tell our guys here now, as you drink the water, be mindful of who dug the well, and those guys did a lot of heavy lifting. When it wasn't really a cool time to come to Towson, old gym, 31 losses, postseason ban, that's not exactly a lot of selling point. We used to get crushed on the recruiting trail, crushed. But we used to hammer the staff. They had no excuses. We got to figure it out, But I was incredibly proud of those guys. And then Bruce Shingler, who was one of my assistants at the time, was now at South Carolina. When there were like 4 games to go, we kind of figured out that we actually had a shot at this record. So we knew we were banned. Our guys did. We went in and said, hey, Sweet 16 game Thursday. We beat like Drexel at home. Saturday we were playing at Hofstra. Hey, late we won. Next week we go to Mason, who's in the league. We had lost 21 straight times to Mason here at Towson, and we're like, hey, this is the Final Four now. And I remember we used to drive down to Mason, which is crazy, day of the game. We used to do that a lot of players first got it. Now we do it the right way, and I'm thankful to our administration for that. I went to our AD at the time, Mike Wood. I said, Mike, we can't be driving down and getting the game. He said, you can give them lobster 6 times this week if you beat Mason. So we went down, and we ended up winning a close game. But at the half, we were literally up. I remember Benham had like 21 at the half, and I felt like there were a lot of Towson people at the game. It's like we were like the Aints fans. Everyone was taking off the brown bag. It was finally cool to be a Towson fan. We beat them, and then here, I did a bad job coaching. The last game in our building was the day we set the record. The last game in the old Towson Center. Place was filled to capacity. I think I had our guys too hyped up, and we were fortunate to beat a Hofstra team that wasn't very good. I actually felt like more of a relief because you're not even in a postseason, but all of a sudden and our guys knew, if we win, we set a record. So I didn't do a good job with that. But you know what? The answer, long-winded, unbelievable pride for that group.
Was that publicized? Like, did people outside of the program know how you were treating it as like the Sweet 16, Elite 8, Final Four?
We never talked about that.
Yeah,
We always try to keep that stuff internal.
So you end up winning your own little mini championship.
It was cool. I mean, because the place was packed. It was the last game ever in the Towson Center, and you set NCAA record. So,
is that team bonded for life in sort of sense? Because that's one of the cool things I think goes down in sports, whatever sport it is. I've played on championship teams. I'm sure you have as well. You've coached them. You can go 10 years 15 years without talking to somebody, and then boom, once you talk to them, it's like old times, or something happens in your life. Perfect example, my father unfortunately passes away 2 years ago, and I don't hear I hear from a lot of people, and then all of a sudden, in times like that, out of the woodwork come guys that I used to play hockey with, and and win games with, and so
Hey, you shed blood. You shed blood with those guys.
right.
Yeah.
So
I'd say
are those teams like bonded?
I'd say yeah. Like I came off the road this year for the first time ever for recruiting because one of those guys got married and a handful of those guys were at the wedding, and me and my wife said we got to go to that. I mean, I'm like, yeah, that's more important than anybody I'm going to recruit. That was one, and then the other thing that's really weird as I'm sitting here. I mean, I love to. I want to win a national championship. Because that'll probably be the only team you ever coach on that you win your last game. Everyone's season, except for one team, ends in a loss. That year, the season ended with the win. No, I mean, like,
yeah, legitimately,
your season. You can almost say your season is going to end with the loss, right?
Yeah.
That year, I guess that one silver lining was that year the season ended with the win.
That's cool. Yeah, I never thought of it like that, but that's awesome.
Yeah.
I mean that. And what a win it was. I mean, historic. So that brings us to. I mean, this year, what are you excited about? I mean, there was you after that season we were just talking about. I mean, look, you won 25 games, 20 games, 20 games. I think 18 last year. So you lose a little bit coming on into this year. What are you excited about this year?
Well, the humility of the group. One, this group has a great sense of humility and unbelievable work ethic. We're going to be deep. I think it's the most athletic and physical group we've had. And I just, a couple of my guys said, you haven't been on these guys as much. And I'm like, really, knock on wood, right now, they haven't given me a lot of reasons to be on them. We were here for 10 weeks of summer school. It wasn't until week 8 that someone was late for anything. Talking tutoring, class. And not that you ever want guys late, but when you're dealing with 18 to 22-year-olds, that happens. So what I'm excited about with this group, we got a long way to go. We have to play a tough schedule and obviously a very difficult league, one of the top 10, 11 leagues in the country. This group should get better because they don't bring a lot of distractions to the table. The better teams we've had got better. The year we set a record, we were 4-9, I think, to start, and we got better. We had won 11.
Got some workers.
Unbelievable workers. We had won 11 out of 12. The year, unfortunately, John Davis got shot. That group got better. So to me, the most important thing is, do we get better? We had a good season last year. Some good players, obviously talented players. We had a record-setting start. Did some firsts in program history. The one thing I was disappointed about in myself and our program is we didn't get better. When it really mattered. And before that, we've always been a team that's got better throughout. So, yeah, I want to win every game. I'm going to coach every game like it's the Super Bowl, but you got to get better every day.
You mentioned John Davis. How's John doing? I mean, background, toward the end of last season, he's home in Philadelphia.
So he just finished playing in Australia. He graduated, he played in Australia. He actually was at our first practice 2 days ago. Their season runs funky time. So he's back home right now. He's either going to go back to Australia or he has a couple other things on the table, like Qatar and a couple. So he had a great year in Australia.
No, I mean, like when he was shot.
Oh yeah,
he was a member of your team.
Yeah, he was our leading scorer and rebounder. 2 years ago, he was our leading scorer and rebounder. We had won 11 out of 12. Tough break. Obviously, he could have been worse for him.
Yeah.
Selfishly, really tough break for our team. We lose in the conference semis in the last 30 seconds without our leading scorer and rebounder. So there'll always be a what if,
Yeah. He was at home in Philadelphia and he was shot.
Random drive by like 10 o'clock in front of his house. It's just a fragment.
But he's all right now.
He played professionally last year. He obviously graduated, had a good year. Yeah. We would have liked to have had him, obviously.
Sure. Yeah, what a tough thing to go through.
Yeah, it's not in the coaching handbook. Sometimes it's, so I was with a good friend of mine. We came for practice the first couple of days, Coach Giannini from what used to be at LaSalle, and he's like, yeah, we could write a book on some of the stuff that it just kind of happens.
Yeah, it's life. So that's not in the coaching handbook. Something that's not in the parenting handbook that we're going to get into before we let you go here is the amount of work you do to raise awareness and raise money for autism awareness. Because your son, Owen, is autistic. He's on the spectrum disorder, right? Can you talk a little bit about your son and why this is so important to you?
Well, it's
raising
really
awareness.
No, it's really important. I appreciate you bringing it up. I think you give me too much credit for, all we had was a clever idea to bring some awareness to something that's really important. I think when we talk about autism spectrum disorder, it's like now the prevalency rates are like it used to be 1 in 64, 60. It's even like high 50s now.
Yeah.
It's even
I'm putting
higher.
together a story for it, which you're involved in.
158, right?
59
59.
is what Autism Speaks. I read on Autism
Yeah,
Speaks.
they're the
it used to be
leading
1 in 62 recently, and now it's 1 in 59.
And the rate's even higher in
Right.
boys.
Yeah.
It's the largest developmental disorder in the world. There is no cure. And the thing that really hurts when you hear it is the average cost really to get a family the resources need is roughly about $60,000 a year, which obviously a lot of people that's hard. And so we're fortunate. The Skerry family is fortunate because we have an unbelievable community here and resources in the greater Baltimore area for autism. It's unbelievable. I'm on 2 teams. One I asked to be on here at Towson. The other one I didn't ask to be on, but I proudly served both of those teams. And we participated in a walk when we first got here, which is now moving to Towson.
The Autism Speaks walk.
Yep, that you're covering.
Sunday, October 14th at United Stadium.
And our volleyball coach, Don Metal, got that done. He did a great job. So we started walking down in Camden Yards, M&T Stadium for it. And I got this, the blue puzzle piece lapel pin. So I wore it to games. Now I'm in my second year. I'm wearing it to all the games. And inevitably, people had asked me, what is that? And you start telling at the games, referees, people that work the scoreboard, locker room area. So we had an event on campus. We had about 11 organizations out, a sorority on campus, and it was pretty cool. It was in the old Towson Center my second year here. After it ended, my wife and I were like, how do we try to make this better? And one of my coaching buddies, Tommy Herrian, was now then the head coach of Marshall. His son, Robert's on the spectrum. So we got together, random Shawn, with brainstorming our wives, his wife Leslie, my wife Kristen, come up a Saturday in February in college basketball. There were 32 games on national TV. So we get this idea, hey, let's call the coaches and see if they wear the pins. Obviously, we have their numbers and access.
The blue puzzle piece.
Yeah. So my wife calls Autism Speaks and tells her, what we're trying to do, can we get the pins? Yeah, they're $5 a pin. So obviously, we bought them. We just bought them. We sent them out, and we got the rock stars to wear the pins. Coach Sturgeon's wearing the pin, Calipari, Boeheim, you name it. They're wearing the pin. Krzyzewski, everybody. So it's as that happens, the president of Autism Speaks at the time was a woman named Liz Fell calls me. She's like, I say, we need help. We need help. So then we partnered up with them. The National Association of Basketball Coaches helps advertise, gets us a database. We had over 400 programs wear the pins last year, and we do it for a week. And so it's cool. We get great awareness. I think through the awareness, you raise some money, because I think when certain coaches have the puzzle piece pin on, people, hey, what's he wearing? So we've tried to grow it every year. We're going to keep at it. I need help. I need national TV to do a double header for us.
Okay.
That's what I need. So I need the media to help. We've tried this. We're still in the formative stages. That's really what we need to move this thing forward.
Well, I think it's an awesome thing that you do. It's called, what, Coaches Powering Forward for Autism, right?
Yes.
That's what it is, and that's in February.
I think February 16th. That'll be that weekend.
Okay. I'll be wearing I have one on my desk at work. I'll be wearing it that weekend.
We appreciate it.
And so, yeah, I think it's a great thing. And the more awareness you raise for it, the better. Everybody's dealing with something. And that's certainly
And we do an
research.
unbelievable job at our institution, on our campus. We have about 15, 16 organizations that come out. It's a really neat week here.
And but way before that is, like we said, the Autism Speaks Walk, Baltimore, Sunday, October 14th at United Stadium. So we're looking forward to that. Coach, appreciate your time. All right,
thanks, bro.
It's been nice.
All
right, and we'll see you on the practice court. Good luck this season.
Thank you.
All right, thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. This has been another episode of On the Sidelines with Shawn Stepner. We'll see you next time.